So in this lesson, we're going to take what we learned on 4.6, which was on Friday, and we're going to kind of apply it to a system of inequalities, which in 4.6 you looked at just one graphing one inequality at a time. Now we're going to look at graphing two inequalities at a time and what that looks like. So first, a system of inequalities is a set of inequalities where the solution is a shaded region of points in the overlapped or double shaded region. So we're going to graph two inequalities, and the only way you can solve a system of equalities that we're going to talk about this year is by a graph. So we're not going to have you do these algebraically, they're just graphing. So a lot of what you're going to look at today is very similar to what we did in 4.6. So it says solve the following system of inequalities. So that means I'm going to graph because I see this lovely graph right here. And to graph this, I'm going to plug this in my graphing calculator just as it was this equation here. So I'll just y equals negative x plus 4. So I'm going to graph it just like I normally would. I'll plug it in my graphing calculator, and I will graph. I'll graph this in blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's a -1 slope. So I'm gonna plot as many points as I can because that will help me kind of see the intersection and the most. So that's that one line, and you notice that this is a solid line or not equal to, so that means it's going to be dotted. So I'm going to use my blue cursor and just kind of create a dotted line through that. I'm just going to use it's a little bit difficult on a computer. If you were using a ruler, it'd be a little bit easier. So just kind of create a dotted line there. And this says y is less than. So if you're looking at your y-axis, y is less than means you're going to shade below because it's less than. So just going to shade less than in blue. And so now I'll graph my other inequalities. So to graph this one, I'm going to have to get y alone first. So I'll add x on both sides, which will get me y is less than or equal to 1 plus x. So I'll graph this one in red. And y-intercept is 1, and I'll be going up 1 here. And since this line has equal to, it's gonna be a solid line. So let me just keep plotting those points. And then I will use a solid line to connect my dots here. I'll just kind of try to get it perfect. And so once I have my line graphed like that, this one says y is less than. So again, I'm going to shade below. So that would be here. And so the solution set is actually where the lines intersect, or the solution sets intersect. So it's actually going to be the overlapped region where the red and the blue are. And you always label your solution set with an S. So this is very similar to kind of what we talked about. So you're looking for the overlapped solution set, and you just mark that with an S to show this is my solution set. And so what I would do, it's really important to graph and then shade at a time. Don't graph both lines and then try to shade, because sometimes that gets everybody mixed up. So another important thing is to know that if if you're looking at a point that lies on this red line, that is part of the solution set, because that is an equal to. So the point can be on that line. However, if you look at a point on the blue line, that is not in the solution set because that is not equal to. So that's another thing you just got to be careful of. If it's asking you if a point is in the solution set, if it's a dotted line, it's not. If it's a solid line, it is, because remember that means less than and this means less than or equal to. So what are the steps for solving a system of inequalities? The first thing you want to do is get y alone in both inequalities. And just remember, if you divide or multiply by negative, switch the sign. So just remember to keep that in mind as you're graphing. And I'm just going to go like this. The second thing you want to make sure you do is, so graph the first line and then shade. So shade as soon as you're done graphing the first line. Then you want to graph the second line and then shade. Make sure you have arrows, and then you want to label your solution set with an S. And then if it asks you to identify a point in the solution set, identify a point in the solution set if necessary. Okay, so that's kind of how you graph a system. It's very similar to a system of equations, except you have the inequalities now, so now you're shading and kind of looking at those. So there's not just one solution for a system of inequalities. There's all these points in that shaded area are points that work for both inequalities. Okay, so the practice just has 3 questions, and check your answers when you're done.